The story opens up as we see a mysterious man donned in a long coat and thick bandages as he makes his way to the Hall of Justice. Knowing he was being watched, the figure opened up in a sprint towards the building, where out of nowhere he was struck by a pedestrian's car. Being absolutely horrified that he just killed the guy, the driver came out to help the wounded man, only to see that the accident knocked off his cloak, where he then burst into flames. Being covered head to toe in fire, the man screamed in pain and warned for the others to get back. Being saved just in time by Green Lantern, he was brought to the Hall of Justice, where Hal questioned this mysterious burned individual. Revealing his name to be Andrew, he demanded that he tell the Justice League of a hellish coming threat. Hal then told him that the rest of the heroes were off-world and had him relay just what was going on. Being also met by the male Wonder Twin Zan, Andrew revealed to the pair that he was in fact a vampire, which honestly explains the insane sun allergies a few panels back. He told the two that for centuries, peace between man and vampires was held by the vampiric elder Mary, who was the Queen of Blood. Despite holding this peace for so long, things would take a turn for the worse when Mary was mysteriously murdered. Also revealing that this woman was his ex, Andrew made it a point to avenge his vampire mommy GF by locating her assassin. His search would eventually lead him to the Legion of Doom headquarters, where upon venturing inside, Andrew would encounter a horrifying sight, which was the blood-soaked walls of the facility where the world's greatest supervillains lay dead. Coming across the mutilated, but still semi-conscious body of Lex Luthor, the dying genius discovered that Andrew was not hostile like the other vampires who wiped his kind out. Revealing that the monsters had begun a massive secret invasion, he told him that any of the universe's heroes or villains could now be undercover creatures of the night to ultimately bring this world to eternal darkness. Giving the vampire the address to the Hall of Justice, Luthor demanded that he go there, where he handed him a mysterious vial. In a disturbing scene, Luthor then had the man kill him with his bare hands before he could turn into a vampire himself. Reluctantly obliging, Andrew managed to escape the Doom headquarters, even managing to kill Vampire Riddler in the process. Things of course would then cut to modern day, where Andrew would don his Darkman bandage look so he could venture outside during daylight, where he of course would be found by Hal Jordan. Thinking this plan of vampires infecting superheroes sounded a tad insane, Green Lantern asked Andrew if he told anyone else of this plot, where he said no, because he felt the League were the only people he could trust. Zan, knowing this sounded quite serious, asked if he should bring the others in, which instantly alerted Andrew, as Green Lantern had told him earlier, that the other heroes were off-world. Ticked off at the teen for spilling the beans, Hal then restrained both men with his ring, revealing himself to be one of the infected vampires, in fact being one of their high-ranking officers. Desperately trying to escape, Hal had enough of Zan's antics, where he then used his ring to summon a giant blender around the boy, where he had nothing but a thin rope, choking him above the whirling blades. The rope of course would then snap, where Zan would fall into the device, where he was violently blended into a human-sized smoothie, which Hal would devour, only to claim that the dude was a bit too watery for his taste. Honestly boys, this may be one of the single worst things Green Lantern has ever done, even beyond the Ryan Reynolds movie. Revealing how much of an OP vampire he was, Hal told the restrained Andrew that he was able to keep his cover so successfully due to his ring's ability to block the UV rays of the sun, allowing him to be outside completely undetected. Demanding to know who else he told about this plot, Andrew once again told him nobody else knew but them. Delighted to know the truth would die with this vampire traitor, Hal then used his ring to cook the horrified man alive as he watched while finishing off his Wonder Twin protein shake. Things would then cut to Batman coming home to the Batcave, where he was greeted by Alfred. The butler would then tell Bruce that they had a mysterious visitor to the mansion earlier, where he sent a letter to Batman. This was revealed to have been the work of Andrew, who was smarter than we initially believed. The package contained the vial from Lex Luthor, along with the letter from Andrew, warning Batman of the coming vampiric threat. The next issue opens with the ancient wizard Anton Arcane in the middle of deep meditation, where he suddenly sensed a powerful presence behind him. This presence was the vampiric Green Lantern, who used his ring to burst through multiple countless shields that the man summoned. Admitting that Anton was the most powerful magic user he had faced yet, the evil Hal smiled and told him that despite all of that, his will was still stronger. Without hesitation, Jordan then grabbed the man's throat, where he completely tore out his spine, instantly killing him on the spot. With this threat eliminated, Hal was then contacted by his mysterious Dark Master. Kneeling before his lord, the leader expressed to Hal a growing concern that their secret vampire invasion may have been compromised due to the escape of the vampire traitor Andrew Bennett. Despite having burned the man to death, Hal believed there was no need to worry, for Andrew had confided in him alone when he came to contact the Justice League. Knowing that Bennett was much craftier than this, the mysterious master told Hal that they would need to assume the heroes were aware of this threat and that he would need to use his position to keep them distrustful of each other. Things then cut to Wayne Manor, where Bruce had gathered the Bat family in order to inform them just what was going on. Giving the lowdown of the situation to his team, he, of course, being Batman, tested them all after witnessing them all consume the tea that Alfred served them, where he revealed that this was all made with holy water, and if they were secret vampires, they would have died right on the spot. Attaboy to Batman for being willing to instantly kill his own son without a second thought if he were a vampire. Leading the group to the Batcave, Bruce had them all go through one more test by having them all touch a blessed cross, for if any of them were truly infected, they would instantly be burned to death. Luckily, the entire squad passed the test, even Damian, who told them that they need to stop being so surprised that he's actually a good person. Happy that his family was on the side of good, Batman showcased his amazing arsenal of vampire-killing weapons. Surprised that Bruce was taking the lethal route in this mission, Batman then explained his no-kill loophole that you can't kill what's already dead, which brought great joy to Damian as he loaded up a mini crossbow. Later on, we are brought to a dark beach where we see the Flash meet up with Green Lantern, who had asked to connect. Summoning a fancy office chair with his all-powerful ring for Flash to sit in, Barry also decided to show off by using his super speed to build a beach chair for Hal to relax in as well. Thanking Barry for meeting, the unsuspecting Flash was told by the secret vampire that something bad was coming to their world. Testing Barry out to see if he was aware of the plot, he asked if he had told anyone about what was going on, only for the very confused speedster to tell him he had no idea what he was talking about. Delighted that his plan remained in the shadows, Lantern then revealed his true nature, where he had the chair come alive and turn into a massive roach-like creature which held Barry in its grasp. Demanding to know why Hal was doing this, the vampire told his former friend that his boss instructed him that Barry was not allowed to live in their new world, for if he were to turn, his powers would prove to be a nightmare for the rest, for he would feed on the entire Earth's population, leaving no blood for them. He then told Barry that he regretfully did this and tried to argue for him to be turned, but his leader would not allow it. Turning his back on his ally, Green Lantern then had the monster sever Barry to pieces, leaving the world's fastest man a bloody chunk of body parts on the dark beach sands. We then cut to the next day as we see the Justice League investigating the dead body of the Flash, who, as we know as the audience, was betrayed by the Green Lantern the previous night. Putting on an act even greater than Amber Heard after pooping in Johnny Depp's bed, Hal asked just who could have done this and began barking orders at the League to begin investigating the rogues so they could locate Barry's murderer. When he tried to get bossy with Batman though, the detective, in his own Batman way, passive-aggressively told the man that he knew what he needed to do. As the other heroes headed out to get to the bottom of things, Bruce took notice to the now lone Wonder Twin Jaina looking on at the beach waters. Later that night, we see Batman in the Gotham sewers using some type of device to scan the waters below. Knowing he was being watched, he told the figure that they could reveal themselves, where we see Jaina once again. Here we see the girl who broke into tears, for she knew just what Batman was investigating. It was the remains of her brother Zane, who unbeknownst to them, was chopped into pieces and drank by the vampire Green Lantern, who then dumped his bloodied remains down the sink of the Hall of Justice. Despite Bruce telling the girl to go home, she refused, for she was here to find out the truth of what happened to her brother, no matter how dire it was. Things then cut to the Penguin, where we see him frantically running through the streets of Gotham as he was chased by a gang of vampires, only to actually be happy to see a hero for once, as he was met by the sorceress Satana. At first believing he was saved by the tall, sultry magic mommy, she then proved to be a sinister, sultry vampire mommy, where she too was infected and leapt on the poor Birdman, where she fed on his blood. We are then taken to the same dark beach where the Flash was murdered, as Wonder Woman stood in the spot where her friend was slain. Being met by the undercover vampire brother Green Lantern, the sussy boy asked if Diana was looking for Barry's rogues, only for the woman to not be so sure that they were the ones who did this. Out of nowhere, Hal then tried turning up the vampire riz, where he told her that Barry had a crush on her, along with pretty much every other dude in the League. Not falling for these light-skinned shenanigans, Diana then wrapped Green Lantern in the lasso of truth, where she then demanded for him to tell her just what was going on. Having no reason to lie, Vampire Lantern then told her his true intentions, where he confirmed his undead persona and that he in fact killed the Flash. This revelation then left the Amazon in tears, knowing that she now lost two of her closest friends in the same day. Apologizing that she felt this way, Jordan then lured the woman right into his trap as he activated his vampiric hypnosis, which led her closer to him. Asking how he was able to do this, Hal then told her he was speaking to her vulnerability, where he then sunk his teeth into her neck, infecting and welcoming Wonder Woman to this new bloodthirsty world. Back in Gotham, we see Damian Wayne, who is investigating the corpse of the Penguin, who was turned into a used chonky Capri Sun by Zatanna earlier that night. It was at this scene where he was met by Black Canary, where they both had a standoff, questioning which of them may have been a vampire. Being mouthy as usual, the son of Batman had no qualms hitting a woman, where he threw hands with her in the alley and managed to put her in a headlock, only for her to jab a mysterious needle into him. Asking just what the heck this crazy chick jabbed him with, Canary revealed that she took a sample of his blood so she could confirm that he truly was not infected. She then roundhouse kicked the boy right in the face, where she ran off into the night. Back in the sewers, we come to Batman and Jaina investigating the death of Zane. Sensing her brother's remains in the nearby water, she led Bruce where she felt Zane the strongest. Preparing his diving gear, Batman then jumped into the murky sewers, where he came back with a deadly discovery. After Green Lantern's cannibalistic rampage, all he was able to find left of the former Wonder Twin was a tip of his severed finger. Hysterical, the girl sobbed into the Dark Knight's arms and asked just who could have done this. Checking his scanners, Batman told her that due to bone being so strong, this could not have been done by an ordinary blade. This carnage was caused by a blade of light, making Green Lantern suspect number 1. We then see Black Canary as she made her way to her and Green Arrow's secret hideout, where Roy Harper stood guard with his bow prepared, asking her the password. She then told the dude that she forgot it, and told him that it was a pretty bad security plan, for if she were infected, she would still remember the password. That's honestly very sound logic. Green Arrow then told the kid to stand down, for he did not remember the password either. Relieved that each other were alright, Dinah revealed to Oliver the blood samples that she had taken from the other heroes. With this, they would be able to test who was not infected, so they can form an alliance of heroes they could trust, and take the fight to this vampire invasion. The next day, we see the members of the Justice League who had met for an emergency meeting. Suspicious that their greatest enemies had all been missing, Superman noticed that Batman was not present, where a voice told him that he was not invited. When asked why not, we see that these voices belong to Green Lantern and the newly infected Wonder Woman, who used their positions to frame Bruce for the murder of the Flash. We later see John Constantine in a bar, where he is greeted by his fellow magic user Zatanna. Informing the man that she was looking for him, she asked John if they could talk somewhere more private. He then led the woman to a back room in the bar, where he asked her just what she wanted to drink, where she told him that she was certain she could find something. Of course, being aware that she wanted to sip on his magic blood, Constantine restrained the woman, where he told her that they could chat after she got over the whole biting him thing. Shocked that he knew she was infected, Zatanna asked just how John knew this, where he simply asked her how long they have known each other, and that she was easier to read than she thought. Surprised that he spared her, Zatanna then kicked back and chilled with her old friend, telling him that life of the undead was surprisingly great. Honestly, Constantine is the only one who would be this chill during a vampire apocalypse. We are then taken to the Batcave, where we see Batman instructing his computer to collect as many blood samples as possible so he can investigate just what was going on with this invasion. Aware that someone was watching him, he then enacted a blackout throughout the entire cave. Out of nowhere, an arrow would strike the knight in the dark, causing him to slump to the ground. This would-be assassin would be revealed to have been Green Arrow, only for him to discover that this was a dummy body that he attacked, with a real and very angry Batman armed with a knife right behind the Emerald Archer. Things then resulted in a monstrous one-on-one fight between the two men, both thinking each other was an infected vampire. As the two billionaires tried to kill each other, we are then brought back to Constantine talking to his vampire GF, where they are interrupted by Dr. Fate, who told John that his assistance was needed in this undead threat. This then immediately caused Zatanna to go on the offense, where she went to attack Fate, only for Constantine to restrain the woman in midair once again, telling both of them to calm down. Without hesitation, the Doctor immediately took advantage of the situation and evaporated the woman on sight, leaving nothing behind. Infuriated at the death of his friend, Constantine scolded Fate for his actions, only for the guy to reiterate once more that she was a vampire and that their world would soon fall if he did not help. Being brought back to Batman and Green Arrow's war, Bruce then tackled Ollie to the floors of the cave, where he went to impale the man through the chest with one of his prepared stakes. After dousing the Dark Knight with holy water and not seeing him burn to a crisp, Bruce and Ollie both realized they were not infected and apologized for beating the crap out of each other. Uniting forces, Batman and Ollie put their plans together on how to end this threat once and for all. Before they could get too chummy, the cave intruder alert sounded, where the men sprang into action, where they were met by the vampire Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. With their secret agenda, the duo had convinced the rest of the uninfected League that Bruce and Ollie were the vampires all along, and they were the ones who killed the Flash. Knowing the truth of what their former friends were up to, Batman and Arrow attacked, where out of nowhere Superman and the rest of the League arrived, telling Bruce to stand down. Not knowing who they could trust, Bruce and Oliver engaged in a violent battle with their allies in the Batcave depths. As Batman and Arrow fought the Justice League, we meanwhile see the Suicide Squad burst into a warehouse, telling their targets not to move. Despite their fearsome entrance, it was all for naught, as they were too late and everyone in the compound was already mysteriously dead, or at least as it seemed. As the squad investigated, we go back to the superhero brawl, as the vampire Wonder Woman tells Bruce to turn himself in for the Flash's murder, a crime he did not commit. Wishing to stop this madness, Superman intervened, telling Batman that he could get him the help he needed. Not taking his chances and believing if Clark was infected or not, Bruce enacted one of his wildest contingencies yet, which was a kryptonite gas pill hidden behind his teeth, where he then blew his specialized stank breath all over Clark, instantly weakening him. Taking immediate advantage of this opening, Batman then knocked the Man of Steel out with one punch, eliminating the biggest threat temporarily from this battle. Back at Task Force X, we see the Suicide Squad investigating the bodies of their targets, all whom have had the blood drained from their bodies. With their main mission objective being revealed to have been the Joker, Deadshot was a tad concerned concerning that signs pointed to the Clown Prince of Crime now being an immortal blood-sucking maniac. Requesting more intel and special vampire killing weapons from Amanda Waller, the woman told the team that their mission remained as is, and the objective was to capture their target. Being somewhat excited at this spooky change of plans, an eager Black Spider expressed the joy of killing a vampire, where suddenly King Shark got a little too close for comfort and ripped the poor man to shreds, revealing himself to be a vampire shark. Honestly, that may be the coolest thing I have ever heard. Shocked to see what was going on, Deadshot called the team to form up and attack their former ally, only to see that the likes of Savant and Parasite had secretly been infected as well. With Superman incapacitated, Cyborg stepped in to stop the carnage. Telling Bruce he knew of his blood infection, Vic urged him to come with them so he could be cured. Batman then told Cyborg that there was no cure, with the ever-hopeful Victor still telling the man to come along, as Barry's death was not his fault. Bruce then dropped the bombshell we've all been waiting for, that it was Green Lantern who killed Flash, who of course denied these claims, with Batman saying that he was not sure who else was infected, but urged whoever wasn't, that they were on the wrong side of justice. He then revealed to Cyborg that he had the evidence of everything on his computer, where he urged the man to check for himself. Surprisingly quite civil and willing to listen to reason during this, Cyborg entertained Batman and went to check the files, where of course it was all a double cross by the mistrusting Bruce, who fried the dude with the computer, resulting in complete darkness in the entire city. I mean, yeah, on the surface that sounds cool and all, but was that really smart to try and get the upper hand on vampires by putting them in total darkness? Don't they, thrive in that? Anyways, moving on. Like always, there was a method to Batman's madness, as the Bat family noticed the power surge, where they sourced it to the cave and headed there, knowing Bruce may be in danger. Back at the Batcave, we see Green Lantern, armed with a lantern, looking for the Dark Knight in the pitch blackness. He then located Batman, who was awkwardly and rather hilariously hiding behind a stack of boxes, where out of nowhere he activated his trap card, which was a powerful burst of yellow powder, which filled the entire cave. Utterly confused at what was going on, Arrow asked just what this stuff was, where Batman gave him the lowdown that it was a custom-made chemical compound that was made to neutralize his powers, which Arrow promptly responded that he felt like it would give him cancer. Seeing that yet another major threat was weakened, Ollie struck the dude in the shoulder and prepped for a killing blow, only for the arrow to be caught by Martian Manhunter. Knowing this would happen, Ollie then activated his trap card, where we see this arrow was flammable and ignited the alien's hand. Out of the shadows, we see Bruce swinging a group of flaming batarangs on a string, where he backed Manhunter into one of the Justice League teleporters. Knowing that the monsters could not turn him due to his Martian DNA, Bruce told John to find them once he knew the truth. He then teleported the dude away and smashed the controls so he could not return. Task Force X had their hands full of undead of their own, as we see them battling their fellow infected members. Harley Quinn is able to take out a vampire savant, where we see Batgirl burst from the ceiling offering her aid. With several League members down, Batman and Ollie were still faced with a very powerful infected Diana. Blocking every strike they threw at her, Wonder Woman urged Bruce to join them, where he would of course refuse. Admitting this would be a shame, for he would have been an amazing vampire, she went in for the kill, where Batman would break out the holy water and pour it on the woman, burning her face as if it were made of acid. Witnessing this whole thing, a wounded Hawkgirl would see for herself that Batman was not lying and that Diana was indeed a creature of the night. Not wanting the truth to get out, Wonder Woman grabbed Hawkgirl and went to infect her with the vampire virus. Battered and bloody, Oliver helped Bruce up, where he, armed with a stake, would charge at Diana to try and end this, only for the stake to break off her indestructible chest. She would then counter by breaking Batman's arm and go in to snap his neck, only for Damian Wayne to come in on his motorcycle and slam the Amazon in the back, sending her flying into the wall, where Ollie would then fire an explosive arrow, taking her out of the action for a short time. Robin would then help his mortally wounded father to the Batmobile, where they would drive to safety. With his last moments of consciousness, Bruce would activate the self-destruct mechanism in Wayne Manor, blowing up the entire facility with the League members inside. The likes of Green Lantern and Wonder Woman would survive though, where they found Superman still wounded from Bruce's attack from before. Turning their vampiric gaze on him, the pair went to infect the Man of Steel, adding the most powerful man on Earth to their undead army. The next issue opens in Gotham Harbor, where we see the wounded Bruce and the other Bat family members recovering from the Justice League attack. Knowing that the sun would be up soon, Batman warned the others to be ready, for the vampires would be back to finish them this night. Making his way to the hideout, Nightwing checked to see that everyone was safe, only to realize that Batgirl was not amongst their numbers. That would be due to her still fighting off the undead invasion her and the Suicide Squad were dealing with as they fought off their fellow infected members. Sick of wasting time, Harley Quinn decided to radio to Amanda Waller, informing her of their compromised teammates. Without hesitation, Waller enacted the explosives within the infected members' heads, therefore neutralizing the lives of King Shark and Parasite, and sadly Captain Boomerang, who was not infected but was just so unimportant to Harley that she forgot to mention he was not a vampire. Back in Gotham Harbor, we see the Robins barricading the doors in the event of a vampire ambush, only for it to be completely pointless as we see the infected Wonder Woman and Green Lantern effortlessly walk right through the front door, asking to talk. Surprisingly being quite calm and civil, Diana and Hal offered Bruce and his family one last chance to become vampires to help rule the night in this new world order, only of course for the Dark Knight to refuse. This then resulted in yet another all-out brawl with the heroes, with the already badly injured Batman, who went to pierce Diana with another stake. This would fail once again, as the Amazon would retain him with the lasso of truth, remarking that his capture was quite easy. Batman, being the mastermind he was, would reveal this to be yet another trap, where he had Red Hood activate a series of simulated solar panels that immediately began to burn the flesh off the seemingly invincible Wonder Woman. Containing Diana with her own rope, Bruce and the others set their sights on Green Lantern, who vowed that they could never stop what was coming, no matter how hard they fought. Summoning a series of metal tendrils, Hal held Batman and the others in the air, where he went to crush them, only for Bruce to enact the second phase of his plan, which was Alfred, armed with an axe, who straight up chopped Hal's arm with his ring completely off, thus nullifying his lantern powers. With a powerless, armless Green Lantern burning in the fires of Bruce's simulated sun, it would appear our heroes had the victory, at least for now. We are then taken back to the warehouse where Barbara and the Suicide Squad were seen taking out the last batch of their vampire attackers. Relieved that the nightmare was over, Deadshot then peeled away another layer of the mystery, where within a closet, he discovered the blood-drained corpse of none other than the Joker, their target and believed mastermind behind this undead takeover. Puzzled by this discovery, the team then wondered just who this supposed king of the vampires may be. Meanwhile, the Bat family looked on at their former friends as they burned before their very eyes. The still defiant vampiric Hal would reveal to Green Arrow that despite this defeat, his king would reveal himself from the shadows and take his throne. Looking on at his old friend in disgust, Oliver told the bloodied Hal that he wanted to understand something. Asking just what this was, Green Arrow wanted to know if his old comrade was still within this monstrous blood-hungry beast. It is here that we see Lantern show the most of his humanity that we have seen this whole tale, where he reveals that it is indeed still him. That despite being slightly changed, this Hal Jordan still had all the memories of their adventures together, and it was still him inside. A saddened Ollie then told the man this is what he was afraid of, for the friend that he loved like a brother was still somewhere trapped inside this demon, and he could never forgive him for killing Barry Allen. In the very next panel, we see Green Arrow stab Lantern through the heart, turning the seemingly all-powerful vampire into a pile of ash. Seeing the turmoil that Oliver was in, Bruce went to apologize, where Ollie snapped, telling him he had no room to talk until he had to put down one of his loved ones himself. As Ollie stormed out for some fresh air, Batman received a radio call from Batgirl, where she told him just what she had encountered on her mission with the squad, and that the Joker was not their supposed leader as they thought, and it was in fact one of them. After hanging up, Bruce looked on at his family members, where they asked if everything was alright, where, to keep suspicion down, he told them that Barbara had found the Joker and was coming back to give details. Before he could even finish his sentence, Bruce felt a fist plunge through his back and heart, his attacker being revealed as Nightwing. In a shocking reveal, we see that Dick Grayson was the Vampire King all along and had killed his adoptive father, for he knew he could never be trusted, not even as a vampire. Horrified at what they had just witnessed, the Bat family lunged at their brother, who engaged them all without effort, given his new undead powers. As the carnage commenced, Damian, with tears in his eyes, looked on at the bloodied corpse of his father, telling him to hang on, but it was no use. Batman was gone. As Nightwing tore through the Bat members, Ollie told Alfred that they must get to safety before they were all killed, revealing that he knew Batman's escape plan. A furious Tim Drake then slammed into Grayson's back, asking him how he could do something like this. Grabbing the Robin and slamming him into the ground, Nightwing then began to pummel the boy, telling him that Bruce would have done the same, and given his new rank, he was preventing a mass genocide that Batman supposedly would have caused. Asking how he passed the test, Dick told the hero that even though they could not turn Starfire, they captured her and were able to use her alien blood to modify his, making him appear human temporarily by even Batman's standards. Showing not even the smallest form of mercy, Nightwing then twisted Tim's neck, thus ending the life of this Robin, his own brother. While this madness was occurring, Alfred had arrived in a speedboat where Arrow waited with the wounded body of Cassandra Cain. Back inside, we see an exasperated Damian Wayne blindly attack Grayson, swearing that he would kill him for what he did. Despite Oliver's pleas to get him to retreat, Damian would not listen to reason, where he lunged at the man, only to be caught in his arms, where he began to feed on his blood, infecting the young boy with the vampire virus. As Alfred went to get Cassandra to safety, Red Hood bought them time by engaging Grayson in combat, telling him that he knew he would screw up one day, and that he would be the one to end him. Pinning the Vampire King against the wall, Jason went to enact his vengeance, only to get attacked from behind by the released vampire Wonder Woman, who infected him as well. Holding the wounded hero in her arms while he turned, Jason whispered to Oliver to do it, where out of nowhere an arrow would pierce his heart, thus killing him before his transformation could be complete. This strike would come from Green Arrow, who is already halfway across the harbor with Alfred and Cassandra, where they got to safety. The victorious Nightwing would then tell Wonder Woman to let them go, as they were no longer a threat, and the pair watched on as their kind fully created this new world. We then see this horror in full effect, where an infected Superman would use his heat vision to blow up the White House, and Firestorm burn the world's forest, plunging this Earth into a lifeless orb of darkness. Delighted at this calamity, Grayson told Diana that this world was now theirs, and the internal darkness had begun.